Witness me, Smegma Crazies, and welcome back to Mad Max.
Why do I need you?
This is actually my second take at recording this because I screwed up the video editing on the first time around. So it's okay.
Please! 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 The child. It's the burning sickness. The fan. Give it to me, quickly. Come on! Just let me heal her pain, please.
Don't mess around with that stuff. Don't touch the merchandise.
So last time we made a grand entrance into Gutgash's territory, and that person right there, Hope, we'll be talking to her more later. But she's a slave right now. She's a thrall. And Chum Bucket mentioned on the way in that Gutgash comes from sort of a history of pirates and slavers, so maybe that kind of makes sense. I mean, I don't think anybody in the wasteland is particularly nice. Why stop now? And while Gutgash does have a mission for us, we can't actually take it on right now. He doesn't really trust us enough to give us what we're looking for until we take out at least one camp inside his territory. He also wants us to be at a certain legend rank, but I'm already past that.
Still got a lot to prove, boy.
I have to wonder about this history relic. It seems like you would have to have somebody who knows how to read and write, who doesn't know what a motorcycle is. I'm not really sure what kind of time frame that would fit in. But, you know, whatever. Anyway, last time we also made the Jack. And, it's really underwhelming. I want to say the Jack, the reason it does as little as it does, it uses a small engine and everything else, is because you're meant to be able to find it really early on. If you really wanted to bust through the story and the Jack is your next stopping point, spending as little time as possible to get to that point would probably be in the game's best interest to keep things rolling. However, I've upgraded the car from the weak specs on the Jack, and now with a little bit of armor, it's time for us to take down a convoy.
Forget not the grand Ocho what sits on the hood! Ornament of great power for us!
We've got a bit of armor, we've got a good bumper, we've got plenty of spikes, and we've got a little bit of, we got some grinding rims too. So let's see what carnage we can make happen. Part of the reason I've been hesitant about taking on all these different convoys and everything is, with vehicles with armor, it's just a little difficult to take them on right now. We don't really have an effective way of dealing with armor. And as long as the vehicle's armored, I can't pull off their car doors, I can't pull off their wheels, I can't shoot their gas tanks. It's just a mess all around. However, these cars, oh man, sure would be nice if they had a door, wouldn't it? Sometimes getting just the right target in your sights is a little difficult. But, you know, honestly, it's, sometimes it works. So the lead vehicle itself is not too threatening. There is one thing to look out for when it gets lower on health, and that's that giant spurt of flame down the back. That will hurt quite a bit. I can definitely recommend not being in the middle of it. Now, with all those red barrels on the back, you can shoot it for some damage, but not a terrible amount. At the end of the day, as with all things, it does come down to sheer horsepower, and this one is just about run its course.
Abomination!
So that one was a good convoy.
Ornament.
The next one is going to be not so good, but at least the reason for that is there's just a little bit more armor in the mix, and you'll see why that becomes more of a problem. This convoy is right next to where we first busted into Stump Grinder's camp, and it's just a little bit more well-armored than the one that we just took on. Well, well-armed and well-armored. They've got more boarders to start with, and despite having boarding spikes everywhere on this vehicle, they still found a way to jump on. Boarding spikes are not a you-will-never-be-boarded tool, but they do make it a lot harder without somebody accidentally impaling themselves. There are two ways to get rid of boarders. One is to shake them off, and the other is to blow them off. Which, I'll actually be showing both. With our upgrade harpoon, we also have the option of hooking into somebody's back bumper, and then not even ripping it off, but pulling them backwards while we push forwards. The harpoon slam is a pretty good technique. Now this vehicle behind us, that's, I want to say it's a Crusher. I don't like them because they honestly have a bigger bumper than I do. Their entire goal in life is to run into the back of you and let the bumper do the talking. In fact, some of the enemy faction vehicles in this game do get just straight up better options than you have. There are cars that have better grinding rims than you'll ever get. Cars that have better bumpers than you'll ever get, stuff of that nature. And they're pretty dangerous, honestly. They know how to use them well.
It carries a great, powerful artifact on its hood.
Honestly, I was doing kind of alright until these reinforcements showed up, and they just derail everything that's about to happen. You can frequently hear Chum worrying about the guys that we're running into, and in that case, that little speedy little car has too much armor for me to take it out easily, so it could be there's more I can do with the harpoon, but honestly it's going to require some experimentation, and honestly by the time we have to deal with them en masse, there's better options.
Tear that tire right off!
Of course, part of the danger of trying to hit a vehicle that's surrounding you, or a vehicle that's behind you, it does mean taking your eyes off the road. While convoys will occasionally get reinforcements, they won't really lose the progress that you've made on the convoy damage. You can see there on the lower right, Chum's still trying to fix the car even while we're taking care of this mess. And until it gets out of that red zone, about halfway up, we actually cannot drive the Magnum Opus. I want to say I've had this kind of trouble every single time I've tried to do this convoy too. It's a rough one. Still, we're about back up to full. Let's get back on the hunt. While we're chasing this front car back down, I will say this is the first video where I'm doing a bit more aggressive editing, get rid of some of the downtime. There should still be enough action in there for stuff like this. But for things like the camps, a lot of driving around, a lot of it's going to be, well, a lot less. I was able to crunch down a 2-hour video into about 40 minutes, and this is, well, 50 minutes, and this is the first of 2 of that session.
He's coming right at us!
Of course, a lot of times these smaller vehicles mostly exist maybe to put borders on you, or to possibly get to your side and knock you aside. If you take out the border, you've essentially removed almost half their danger.
This armor must go!
And of course, friendly fire, as always, is not very friendly. So pretty soon we'll have a much better option of dealing with these convoys and the armor we find. But for now, I'm still going to be avoiding them until we get that tool. But once we get that tool, whoo boy, it is open season.
Don't slay me. I carry no weight. I come from the north. Looked for shelter with Gutgash tribe. Was turned away. Better off. Here's something big is coming. Something destructo grand. Warlord Stinky Gummo is gonna bring the kill to them.
I mentioned before that I really enjoy the, the geography of Gutgash's territory, because you can see in the area, and this one really set it out to me, is you can see where this used to be like underwater cavern, with all the shelving and everything, you know, before people put up the wooden struts and corrugated metal and everything. But just in the geography, you can see some of these places where it used to be the sea floor, and how everything's kind of, well, gone away from that. I think this is the first one of these where we actually need to bring our own gas can, or at least a source of explosion, to open up one of these doors, to get onto the balloons. It happens a few times in this territory, and I want to say it comes up in Pink Eye's territory, which will be the next big one we enter as well. And it's kind of frustrating because you're not always guaranteed to find gas cans. I mean, what you could do to have a better chance of finding one is take out an enemy vehicle and then pick. A lot of times they'll drop one, but that kind of assumes at this point that you can take out enemy vehicles, and some of them are pretty hard to track down at this point. We're still a little bit underpowered for this exact point. Not very underpowered. If I could, well, I should rephrase that. The underpowering doesn't come so much from how well Max or the Magnum Opus are kitted out. The underpowering comes from, we're at a little bit of a in-between point before we get maximum power and after we get maximum power. We're pretty close to maximum power right now, but that won't come for a little while yet. But when it does, oh boy, there'll be lots of explosions to go around. I do plan on keeping in all of these air balloon sections where I'm just looking around, just because getting a view of the landscape, I feel like this game is still very pretty. You know, despite most of it being brown, it's still interesting to see, you know, these little areas that were once the coast of Australia. I don't know exactly which coast, but one of them. Of course, one of the first things I still intend to find as far as camp upgrades is going to be the scrap crew, just because I'm actually going on vacation pretty soon, so I don't plan on turning on the game, so getting free scrap just for not having turned on the game, definitely a plus in my book.
The smell of barbecuing meat is everywhere. But not the kind you'd want to eat.
I think I've mentioned warily a few times that scrapulences will kind of fly apart with their entire scrap payload if they take too much damage. Yeah. And that was even a little bit more disappointing because, I mean, I was right here. I was right here at the entrance to the stronghold, and it just... okay. It just happens.
Hey! Don't step inside here! There's boom traps all over! I can't get out! Me bud puke tubes has got blown to shreds already!
Here lies puke tubes. We hardly knew ye.
Oh, saint! Gusts of evil come! Soon the sky shall be blotted out by windy terror!
So, my original intention when I saw a storm approaching was actually to get inside this balloon section and just kind of weather it out here. And then go up in the balloon and, hey, you know, hunky-dory, everybody's happy. The problem is, this is another one of those balloon camps that is locked behind an explosion door, and I don't have any sources of explosions at the moment. Haven't had a chance to replenish since the last one I went to. Which means this storm is just a little bit more dangerous than the last one I got through in Jeet's territory. In Jeet's territory I had plenty of safe havens to get around to. I happen to be very close to Gutgash's stronghold, which is lucky me. But if I'd been out in the middle of nowhere, this could have been a bit more troubling, because fast travel is disabled while you're in the middle of a storm. Still, all we have to do to make it safe again is just step inside. That makes it easy enough, and when we go back out, in fact, even the mother loot boxes stayed around, which I was almost positive would not be the case. Yeah, I definitely expected these to disappear. I know they stick around if you go in camps, but now I know they stick around in strongholds as well, so that's neat.
Oh no! One bit. Let me just tighten.
I definitely wasn't up to tracking down these two boxes while the storm was still raging on, but now, easy enough. I mentioned before that this game does a little bit of environmental storytelling here and there, and I know it sounds like a lot of a buzzword, but sometimes it does a lot by saying nothing and just showing you something neat, like up here. Two skeletons, two mattresses, and some hearts on the wall. I mean, this is the wasteland, so it's entirely possible that was more of a terrible thing than I'm giving it credit for, but, you know.
Stop it! It will tear that tire right off!
I'd actually intended to hit one of the war boys with that harpoon right in the tire, but the auto-aim does a pretty good job of automatically assuming what you want to hit. Not always perfect, but assuming. So this is the second of the battle sites that Jeet wanted us to track down in order to start mining saltpeter. The area we need for sulfur is coming up in the next video? Yeah.
I need to find the other one.
And once we have all three of these, we'll be able to build up the armory inside Gutgash's stronghold. But first, Gutgash does want us to dismantle a camp.
Come, Crazy Eyes. I read your soul has ill will for these Scrotus minions. You think you only reached their fort from the bridgement, but no. You can also use a zip-zap line and sail down there to slay. They need a lesson in losing blood.
So, I'm not gonna lie, I kinda got my butt kicked in this camp. It's been too long since I started doing the Arkham-style combat, and I got used to a different combat system, and yeah.
Luxuries.
In fact, because there hasn't been quite enough fist fighting, let's go ahead and see how that went for me.
Come and die now.
Part of the danger of this particular combat section is I did not have a good angle on the Warcry at any point. Honestly, I probably should have shot him first, but I didn't have good access to his hoist at any point. In addition to the previously mentioned being bad at combat again. I don't know where that guy went, and I'm not gonna ask. I'm just glad he's gone. I'm gonna go with that guy who just kinda disappeared when I pointed the shotgun at him as a Quantum War boy. He actually exists in all states of existence and non-existence until observed. And unfortunately I observed him and it turns out he was not there. Schrodinger's War boy, you will be missed. But yeah, so this was an oil transfer camp, and this is the one we needed for Gutgash. So, without too many further ados, and maybe cool guys don't look at explosions, I'm gonna sign off. Until next time, stay thirsty.